Welcome to the 2022 Economic Depression and Preparation channel. I'm your host, Tony. Thank you for joining me on this Wednesday, Hump Day, October 12th, 2022. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel. Preach to me for the latest 100% breakdown of financial news in the United States and sometimes abroad. I appreciate all of your support, and I do read all of the comments that everyone leaves as well. So let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. We have a situation now that we get the CPI numbers tomorrow. The Consumer Price Index numbers are coming in tomorrow. And remember, it excludes what you see here, gas and food and energy costs. These are the primary costs that we need to be calculating this, that we used to calculate back in the 1980s, the CPI, but it was revamped in the 90s as to not include food, energy, and gas utilities costs. But in any event, we get those numbers tomorrow, as well as the job numbers report on Friday, as usual, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So right now, though, we're running into a situation where wholesale prices, according to CNBC.com, rose 0.4% in September. Now, this is, quote, more than expected as inflation persists. Key word here is that we've been telling you is that inflation is going to persist above 7% for quite some time. Remember, the Federal Reserve Bank's goal was to have inflation 2% and below. We are well above that, and real inflation is at 19% and growing. So the producer price index is what's needed for, once again, it excludes the food, energy, and trade services, as mentioned here, as I said before. But this is what's needed, the cost of moving goods and services around. Like when you're talking about a Walmart, a Target, or a grocery store like a Save-A-Lot or any of these places, the cost of moving goods and services around is becoming more expensive for these companies, these corporate companies, to do that. And that's what the producer price index measures. Quote, a measure of prices that U.S. businesses get for the goods and services they produce. Right here, that's what I said. So this is what we're facing here. Many factories and companies, even though we've made this shift to electric stuff, Ford, as you see here, they made it a shift to the electric cars now. Everybody's EV and green and trying to do that thing. But it is very expensive to produce these things. You know, the average cost of a Ford Lightning Edge truck is around, what, $85,000 off the line? That is a lot of money for a lot of people to pay. I don't know about you, but that's a lot to finance over a 6, 7, or 8 year loan that a lot of these finance companies are coming with. And now higher gas prices. This is on NBC News. Why gas prices are going back up after nearly 100 days of declines. Don't you miss those gas prices? And I don't get political on this channel, but don't you miss those gas prices under our former president, where it was $1.90 a gallon? I think this was like taking it way back. I mean, for regular unleaded. And my, have things have changed here. We are gone up tremendously. Gas, the average price of gas, according to AAA, is at $3.99 a gallon and growing. We're going to be back over $4 a gallon by the end of the month, ladies and gentlemen, everywhere across the board. In California, you guys are already paying $6.30 a gallon for regular, $7.50 for premium. So you know that it's going to go up not just before the midterms, but after the midterms. And we're going to see crime go up. As a matter of fact, New York City subways, have y'all seen the report that came out on I believe it was MSNBC or Cheddar News? New York City subway crime has increased even during the pandemic. Even before the pandemic started, New York City crime on the subways with stabbings, different things, have increased in the Bronx and Queens and all over these routes. Now it's increasing even more because people are frustrated. They're trying to find somebody to take it out on because they can't get to work successfully, because even though these cities are offering transit subsidies, it is not enough to cover the high cost of transportation and gas and food and utilities and just making ends meet that we all have to make, the day-to-day ends meet. Now, other states have covered this. Other states are giving out stimulus kind of relief checks. So if you're in California, you know that they're getting a stimulus disbursement begins Friday, October 7th. Millions of eligible Californians, California being the largest state that we have, over 42 million people, will start receiving inflation relief payments in the form of debit cards or direct deposits beginning October 7th. So they're getting that right now. As many as 23 million Californians, quote, eligible to receive relief payments up to $1,050. So they're already receiving those payments now. Of course, there's a catch to this. As you know, California Governor Newsom likes to paint this as a surplus, but there's a catch to this. You guys are gonna pay higher for gas taxes and other things that's gonna go up as a result of receiving this money. Remember, there's no such thing as a free lunch right here. So if you make less than adjusted gross income of $150,000, you'll get that $1,050, with dependents are $700 without. If you make between 150 and 250K in California on a joint return, you'll get $750, and even less if you make 250 to 500K, only $600. And then if you head a household, etc., and those who file single, as you can see verbatim here, how your payments will go. Now, other states like Ohio, Pennsylvania, the governors of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, and some other states are making stimulus payments too. Theirs won't start till later on this year, but they have said that it depends on how many dependents you have, and etc. Of course, there'll be some stipulations to that. So now we're in a situation where we're creating even more debt beyond the student loan debt giveaways, beyond the stimulus giveaways for the dependents and the kid. Basically, it's an extension of the Child Care Credit Act that President Biden started in the beginning of his term. Now we're giving more money away, but who will pay for all of this debt? MarketWatch.com, an article, who will buy most of the $31 trillion that the U.S. debt has? As you know, you can go to debtclock.org. U.S. debt is now over $31 trillion. And at what price? At what cost? As you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, the rest of the world holds, this is the top 15 holders of U.S. treasuries by market value. As you can see, the Federal Reserve holds a lot of those notes, okay? Banks hold just a fraction of that, maybe 25%. State and local government through municipal bonds, they hold about 25%. But the bulk of the debt is held by the rest of the world, mainly China, guys. Mainly China, Russia, India, the developing countries, the BRIC nations, as we call them, Brazil, Russia, India, China, right? They're holding most of the U.S. treasuries and debt load here, as you can see in this graph, okay? So that is going to be very, very important. And the absence of major buyers for U.S. treasuries is just another source of worry for the list of concerns plaguing the U.S. government bond market. If the bond market and derivative market fails, which it did back in 2008, you have to remember when the Deutsche Bank failed, that's a German bank, and when they had the Lehman Brothers and all of that failed, that was just a part of the problem. That was like ripping off a Band-Aid off a little wound. This is like trying to heal a trauma wound with a tissue paper, and rubbing alcohol. This is what it is, because now we have an everything, not an everything bubble, but we have an everything economy that's heavily based in debt. As a matter of fact, every dollar that is issued in the United States is really a debt note, as you know. $1 is used to create debt, the other is used to fund someone else's debt, to get someone else to make payments on someone else's debt. So this is going to be crucial to look out for in the next month or so. The 2-year and the 10-year bond, how much inverted will it go before it signals a severe depression in the United States? Yahoo.com, another things that we have to worry about. Americans are ignoring the food shortage warning signs. And I just want to break this a caveat to say that, I used to work at a grocery store when I was in high school, and we have a just-in-time delivery system. That means that we stock, when you see the truck come in, it only comes in twice a week, maybe Tuesday, Thursdays, or Wednesday, Fridays, however the stores have their routes. But basically, they stock enough for 3-day supply for a population of, and your grocery stores are dispersed, say, with a population of about maybe between 5,000 and 10,000 people in your neighborhood area, right? So we stock enough food for you to have for 72 hours, 3 days. After that, the grocery stores could become empty if there's a run on the food. Let's say you need it, just like we had the diaper shortage or something. The formula shortage that we had a couple months ago. Well, imagine that with food, okay? Imagine you can't go into the store and get bread, eggs, milk, flour, oil, cooking oil, meats, or anything that you may need to cook a basic meal. That could very well happen next year, as the railroad strike. The railroad strike was rejected. Remember, they came out and said they had a deal. Now, Politico.com and others are reporting that railroad workers' rejection of new contract revives strike fears. Railroad unions reject the White House brokered compromise. New dangers of a work stoppage that will halt 40% of the nation's freight traffic. There's only 4 ways to get things to stores and to companies. Through what? Through shipping? The long way, through shipping, going through the Suez Canal and the Strait of Hormuz, all of that, right? Through rail, bringing all the goods from China to the ports, and then they unload them on the intermodal center on the rail, right? Through trucks, semi-trucks, on the ground, through the interstates in various ways like that, or through air, freight, which is the most expensive way out of all these ways. So this is going to be something really crazy, because we know that Europe and the UK, they've already striked in the UK. They went on strike. The rail agencies in the UK, the inflation level in the UK and in Europe itself is basically at 12%. Ours is right behind. And so right now we are facing a crisis on supplies. A run on supplies in America in the next 2-3 years is not out of the question, ladies and gentlemen. And so that's why we always stress on this channel to be prepared, have at least 2 months ahead for food, water, security, medicine, especially medicine for those who need it or to partake of it. And also we stress getting in shape, not just physically, but mentally. Keep your mind active. Learn a new skill every day, whether you read about it in the library or online, or actually practice a new skill every day. Because this is going to affect this next depression, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going into. Is going to be multi-generational, meaning it's going to affect everybody from the baby boomers all the way through Gen Y. It's going to be multi-year depression, meaning it's going to last the next 5 to 8 years. Even if we go to the new 2030 goals that the UN has looked, I encourage you to look into that. The 2030 goals that the UN and NATO and all of these organizations are joining into. So this is going to last beyond 2030, and it's going to be a depression where a family member has to be able to be multi-skilled, not in just what they studied in school or what they're doing online hustle, or it's going to require you to be very, very flexible, meaning a nomadic lifestyle is going to be something that's going to become more and more feasible in the United States as people move from state to state or from city to city, trying to find a cheaper and more simpler way of life as costs explode for housing, food, utilities, transportation, leisure activities for the kids or for yourself. And so this is going to require massive adjustments. And that's why I always say, it's better to have a plan and have it fail, so to speak, and have another plan than to have no plan at all. Okay. And, so what if you grab a few extra cans of tuna and nothing happens that week and the power doesn't go out? But what if it does go out? What if you do have a natural disaster? Hurricane Ian is the $15 billion disaster we've had since 2022 began. Okay. What happens if that comes, if you don't get a tornado or a hurricane, but you get a wildfire, or you get the power goes out for a week in your town because of because of some cyber attack, or a meteor shower or something happens and all your communications are down. These are the type of activities that we prepare for as preppers, as leaders of our family, as men and women of faith. This is the type of activities that we prepare for. We don't do it to gloat. We don't do it to boast. We do it because we know that this is what is going to be demanded of us in the very near future for all Americans. All Americans, no matter if you're in California, Florida, New York, Texas, Iowa, North Dakota. This is going to be what's going to be happening in our communities and in our cities, because crime is going to go up and the shortage is going to go down for food and actual supplies that we need, and price gouging is going to go up on all this stuff like gas and food and everything else that we need on a daily basis. So stay prepared now. Continue to be blessed, guys, as we go through the rest of this week. Let's continue to work toward our goals, and let's continue to stay prepared, because this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of what's happening now. A $15 trillion economy, ladies and gentlemen, this doesn't crash overnight. It takes week by week, slowly whittling away at the system. And so far we see that the credit limits are coming down. Housing is starting to cool down. As you can see, I see more for sale signs in these subdivisions, houses taking longer to sell. I see more commercial vacant real estate gone. People are going online, but it's even expensive to rent the service from the Amazon cloud now. So things are getting interesting. Stay encouraged, be blessed, stay prayed up. I'll talk to you guys very soon once we get the reports in Thursday and Friday about the jobs and the CPI report. Take care. God bless everyone.